Hi, welcome to The Real Generation Gap. I'm Rudy Ruiz.
I'm Fred Satilli.
And today we're going to be discussing the 2020 Danish film, Another Round. Another Round was directed by Thomas Vinterberg and stars Mads Mikkelsen, is one of 4 high school teachers that have kind of lost the spark in life. They decide to take on this experiment where they sustain a 0.05 alcohol percentage in their bloodstream, okay, to see if that'll help boost the confidence, creativity, and social skills, and just an all-around better lifestyle. But as things start to improve, of course, they begin to push the limits and consequences come to get them. So I really adore this film. This is one I absolutely love. I saw it when it first came out. It also won the Oscar that year, 2021, Oscar for Best International Picture, which I think it really deserved. I've seen this quite a few times. I think, was this your first time watching it?
Yes.
So?
Yeah.
All right. What was your take on it?
It was so sad. It destroyed my whole evening.
Oh, no.
After this, I was like, I watched like an idiotic sitcom to fall asleep, like to get out of the whole trauma of, I mean, one of them killed themselves.
Yeah.
Right,
well,
Tommy?
On accident, I think. That's how I took it.
I didn't take it that way.
Really?
To me, I called it beforehand. They said, this guy's not going to make it. He's going to go, and he did. Right, he took and the fact that he took his dog with him was especially sad for me.
Yeah,
like how out in the boat,
dog,
like the poor dog. Like, but I can see the genius of the movie. Mm-hmm. This was a movie that kind of had to be made. It just didn't have to be seen by me. It's so sad and so unhappy for the whole human race, and it's really like all over the world this is taking place. Mm-hmm. And I always think of Europe as a bunch of drunks, you know, and they had the high school kids were drinking, and even the little kids in the choir. It was like, that's the next generation of drunks. Like, how many of those kids are going to, you know, overdose or do some horrible thing, or, you know, and it was in a country where everybody's pretty much protected by the government and the policies of society. Like, the drinking is acceptable. And to me, all of these people were children. They all were the wives. Everybody was struggling to get through life, and really, they were rich, happy people. They had everything. There was no reason for them to have some kind of horrifying decline in their relationships, you know. And it was just like a spoiled child thing. Like, you don't know how good you have it. You know, there are children starving in Africa. Meanwhile, they're drinking bottles of champagne. It's not like, you know, they're drinking like, you know, cheap wine or, you know, some kind of brake fluid or something, you know. I mean, anyway.
No, that's such an interesting take. So I'm excited to talk about this. I will make sure. No, I'll make sure I don't.
You know what? Maybe we should have done. We should have had a drink before we did this.
Yeah, no. that crossed my mind.
Had to lube me up a little bit, you know.
I actually covered this movie on my podcast, and my friend and we actually tried 6 different vodkas, and we had a breathalyzer, and we made a Sazerac because they drink that in there.
Right,
we drank a lot of stuff, and we were breathalyzing along the way just to see where we ended up. But anyway, I digress. I will make sure I never pitch Vinterberg's 2012 film, The Hunt. Because that'll definitely make you if this made you bummed out walking away when I feel it ends with so much hope, then The Hunt is just going to ruin your life. I
actually want to see more from this guy. Okay. Vinterberg is a great director, you know, and I thought there was nothing the matter with his work. It's just that the subject matter crushed me. But you know what I'll do? I'll do a shameless plug for your YouTube channel.
Okay,
and that is that Rudy has his own channel, not the Real Generation Gap, but he has a thing called Drinks in a Movie, and I like Drinks in a Movie. I think it's worth looking at. Every time I've looked at it 3 or 4 times now, I've enjoyed the review. He'll review some kind of spirit, like he said. They tried 5, 6 different kinds of vodka, and I know you're a good bourbon connoisseur, which I appreciate that, and probably Scotch as well.
Not so much. I don't like Scotch.
You're not a single malt guy.
Yeah, bourbon and rye. No single malts for me.
Okay, good thing we cleared that up. You know. Anyway, you might want to look at it. So anyway, there's the shameless plug.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It's worth it. Anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's interesting that. Man, where to begin with that? I felt that it ended, even though his friend, and again, spoiler territory, everybody, as always, but even though his friend ends up, passing away in the end, whether I never interpreted it as suicide, but maybe, I mean, and that's the thing, right? With the movie and even with the ending, it is very much left up to how you, the individual, wants to feel about it. Like any great movie is. I like that. For me, this one leaves me with a lot of hope. Like, I think ending on that great, ending on that great
dance, left me with no hope.
That great dance number. He gets he's like rejuvenated.
He jumps off into the ocean.
Yeah, dude. There's nothing wrong with that. He's gonna be
but the alcohol has destroyed his marriage, and just when his
marriage. Well, I guess here's the thing: the marriage was already toast.
Right.
The alcohol just helped kind of
bring it to a head.
But what's funny, and this is an unfortunate thing with the relationship, and sometimes I can see what you mean. Sometimes where it's like, oh, they have it so good. They have a house and they got this and that, and they've got their jobs.
Nice kids.
But
that we're going to be the next generation of drunks.
Right.
Like that,
Yeah, they got a big drinking culture out there. But just even with that, like that's the thing. Not the materials and all that. And this, like we talked about this in other episodes, like that doesn't necessarily equal happiness all the time. Like,
of course not.
This is some people that are just, I said before, it's like they just kind of lost the spark. Everything is this routine. They just they're in this rut of like, oh, we're 40 years, we're going through the motions. And then the catalyst is when he gets called out by because they're teachers, right? When he gets called out by all the students and the parents of like, hey man, you're not doing a good job.
You've gone a little too far.
Yeah, you're just you're not helping us. Like,
first, he didn't do a good job because he had completely lost interest in the class.
Yeah.
He's just going through. I misunderstood the way you started to say that there. Mm-hmm. There's two confrontations. The first thing is like, you're not doing a good job. So he's like, well, maybe I'll do a little drinking and it'll spark me up. Mm-hmm. And at first it did spark him up. Like he was more fun in class, but then he went too far.
Yeah.
So now he was impaired in class.
Yeah.
And then he had the second confrontation where it's like, it's come to our attention that some of the teachers are drinking on the job.
That is a hard scene because that's right after they decided to stop. But then their friend Tommy walks in. Well, they did. They stopped at that point. Yeah, that's when it was Tommy that walked in. Everyone else was clear. But then Tommy walks in. It's such a hard moment. I'm like, oh God. When he comes in and he's just like stumbling and he's all late, and then Mads has to take him home. And he's just like, hey man, put the beer down. Like we're good. And obviously he gets suspended from work, but yeah, that part gets me.
Well, at the end, the dance number at the end was spectacular, and I give it to the stuntman who did that because it was obviously not Mads Mikkelsen.
It was him. So
you think he did all? No kidding.
You can see it in camera, and he was a trained. They wrote that in because they talk early in the movie. Oh, you do the ballet, jazz, whatever. That's actually one of his skill sets. So you see on camera,
that's
all
impressive.
him.
That's a Gene Kelly quality,
Yeah, no, it's really good. Yeah, he's just like springs into action. But and what is unfortunate,
but he sprang into action because he was drunk again. He started drinking with the kids.
Yeah, they're celebrating.
Graduate.
They're celebrating. And I think they're celebrating.
They even said it. He says, okay, you all did your exams. Now go out and go crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
They have a drinking culture out there. I don't think there's anything wrong with that aspect of it. Like they got it back. Like where? Okay, sorry, let me go. Let me go.
What
back.
I was going to say was this: right before he does the fantastic dance number and everything, he looks at his phone. And he tells Annika, his wife Annika, right, which is a baller name as far as I'm concerned. He says, I miss you, and then she says, I miss you too, and then she says, I miss you a lot, right? So that's coming back together. So don't start drinking. But then he immediately goes off the deep end. It's like, dude, you're going to get back your beautiful, beautiful wife. You're going to be able to face your kids. When the parents are unified, the kids are okay. Yeah. It's like, my God, you got it right there. You know what I mean? It's
well, one, she's not there. Two, he's
not there.
He's celebrating in the moment.
This is what I mean about being kids.
That doesn't mean he's gonna get blackout drunk or anything crazy like that. They're just celebrating. The school year ended. Another round. Like we get another shot at life. We're back. We're rejuvenated. And
that's the double entendre. That's the double entendre.
I take it that way.
Another round.
Yeah. But going back to
that's a really shitty other round.
I disagree. I disagree completely. And I was going to say before, I think his relationship, well, I don't think, it's very clear in the movie, it was already toast before he did that. And the irony...
His wife was having an affair.
Yeah. And the irony is the fact that, like, that also improved his relationship because now he's just more hip and, I made dinner and here's this. He's more energetic and she sees that change in him. But then, I booked the canoe trip. Let's go. We're going to have a good time with the family. We never do anything. They're going back to being a little more spontaneous. But then, of course, for her, and I'll have to talk to some other friends how they feel about this, for his wife, it's never like, it's still just not enough, right? It's like, what happened? What changed? It's like, it's still a problem, which is a little frustrating. And he's, trying, and sure, he might be under the influence, but he's trying. Even before he goes under the influence, he's at least aware when he's asking her, like, hey, do you feel like I've changed? Like, are we just kind of boring? And she's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to work. You know what I mean? Like, at least he was trying before, too. There was some degree of awareness. I'll give that credit.
Trying while impaired. Trying
before he was impaired. He was at least, what do you call it?
He was emotionally impaired at that time. Open. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, then it comes to that head when they have that night where they decide we're going to, like, push it. Part of our experiment, we're going to go to the full, off the deep end of the spectrum in this controlled environment. And of course, because they're hammered, they go out into public anyway to go pick up the fish.
When you said full, I will tell you that this movie, even though it's got nothing to do with it, it did remind me of the Full Monty.
Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time. The Full Monty,
it's a really depressing situation. All the men are out of work. The economy is all crushed and everything. And they decide that they're going to do an experiment. They're going to try to do like a naked dance number in a saloon and win a prize money or whatever, right? So this is the same thing here. Now, I will turn to the camera and give them like a nuts and bolts. You mentioned it already, but... What happened is you have 4 high school teachers, and in Denmark and in Germany, they call high school gymnasium. Like how we have a gymnasium. Yeah. That's like the word they use, They don't say high school, Hochschule, it's gymnasium when you get to that age. So they're the teachers. And I like that there was all men. There were women teachers too, but these were men teachers. And you don't see so many men teachers, right? So that's in a country like that, you'd have that, right? Some different role thing. So these guys get together, and one of them read some kind of thesis where kind of silly statement was the human body is an alcohol deficiency, and that for optimum human and pleasure, you should have the 0.05, which I think is the legal limit for drunk in LA. Like if you get a drunk ticket, right, a traffic ticket for
I think it's 0.08.
Oh, really?
Say, yeah.
Oh, well, then we can have another one before we leave, But going home in rush hour on a motorcycle is going to be great. Anyway, they decide that this is obviously tongue-in-cheek. Obviously, we don't have an alcohol deficiency, but this guy's thesis was something that they read. Yeah. And they said, you know what? Maybe we'd all be a little bit happier and more charming if we were a little bit lit. So let's go with the 0.05. And like you said, they were using the breathalyzer. They were drinking, and they were drinking. It was almost medicinal. Like, okay, everybody drink this now. Take the breath now.
And they set rules of we can't do it on weekends. It has to
this
be
way it won't be a habit.
8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So it's very medicinal is a good way to put it.
When I was a kid, I had a friend who he wanted to do a certain drug every 3rd day so it wouldn't become a habit. So it wouldn't be.
Just change it.
I won't be an addict. You know what I mean? I'll just do it every 3rd day.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love logic like that. So they all started out, and it was a scientific medicinal thing. And as you said in the introduction, they did pretty well the first couple of weeks. He was now going into class a little bit lit, and he was talking with the students a little more casually, a little more connected, and all that
more
thing.
Engaged,
but like anything like this, it gets out of hand. The monster breaks out of the chains and out and terrorize the city.
They decide to push it. It's working. Let's up it to 0.7, 0.7 or whatever, and then up it here.
Pushing it. Now, his one friend, I thought did a great job as an actor, and that was Magnus. Magnus Millang. All right, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but Magnus is a name in Scandinavia, even though it sounds ridiculous. But that guy is an actor. He really had a bad life too. He like peed the bed, and he was the real like fallen down guy. Like he had less capacity to handle it. Mads Mikkelsen, he was the big Frankenstein guy. He could handle a lot of booze. Like he could hold his own with it. Like he looked like he should be that way. But that other poor little guy and his wife was really not having it.
Yeah.
So he had a different dynamic at home.
Yeah, she was always on his case. His kid always peed the bed, and I did think that was kind of funny at the end.
The kid
like
peed on him. Like he's holding the baby on his chest.
Yeah.
You got to tell me before you go, because the kid told him after, Dad, I peed.
Yeah.
Like he was.
And then the kid yells, and his wife wakes up. The baby wakes up, and now she's all mad at him. And he's like,
what happened? What happened? Is it an emergency?
You're waking everyone up. All this stuff. But I did think it was kind of funny that at the end, after they do their like go into oblivion, they call it.
Right.
That then he's the one who like pees the bed and causes this. And when he's like trying to breathalyze himself to see if he could drive or whatever.
He was like doing it with the remote.
She's like, that's the baby monitor.
The
He just like completely toast.
Yeah, he was so trashed. He was so trashed that he didn't even know what to do.
Yeah.
And then poor Tommy, he was the one that really became like the serious, like alcohol poison guy. He couldn't stop. He needed to drink all day, every day, until finally he went out in the boat with his dog and never returned, you know? So that was, but I just wanted to give a little thumbs up for that one guy, because he did such a, and Tommy did it, whose name in real life was Tommy, right?
Yeah, Thomas Larson.
Right. Thomas Larson, right. His acting was also very emotionally touching. And one of the things I'll say that's great about the movie, since I had such a tough time with it, is art is supposed to inspire emotion. When you look at a painting, if it doesn't mean anything to you, it's not art. But if you look at the painting and you say, man, I totally get it where this guy's coming from. I love this. Like, it really speaks to me. It communicates. Art is supposed to communicate. And this movie communicated. I mean, the art value of it, unfortunately, it was horrifying for me. But I will say that everybody involved did a really good job of bumming me out. It's like when an actor plays a villain and you hate him. Yeah, right. It's like, wow, he's really a good villain.
Yeah, you give him that credit.
I wish I could think of the name of that actor in the Bruce Willis movie, the Yippee-Ki-Yay movie.
Alan Rickman.
Rickman was so great for that. Like, he was a guy, just something really hateable about him. Yeah. When he wanted it to be. Right. He had other roles where he wasn't, but he was really good as like the European spy agent, like, criminal or whatever. And these guys, they did great acting jobs. The fourth guy, I really didn't have much to say about him. Yeah, the choir teacher. Right. Yeah, he's the one we kind of see. We don't really see his family life. He's kind of the lesser character in the group for sure. Of the four of them. Yeah. What else do you have to say about this movie? No, I mean, I just love all those aspects of it. And I think it, for me, ends on a hopeful note. And I do agree that there are horrifying moments, so to speak. And there's parts where I cringe a little bit. And I'm like, I get worried because what they're doing. And like one part that gets me always is the moment when the choir teacher's talking to that one student, and the student's like, I'm going to have a breakdown. I didn't pass. I flunked last year. I can't do the test. Right. And when the teacher tells them, like, well, have you considered, maybe taking a shot or two to take the edge off? Not a lot. Just like when that happens, I sink in my chair. And, yes. Because it's like, oh, dude, you're really crossing a line right there. Like, morally, professionally, everything. And it plants a seed, and like, oh man, is this going to come back to haunt him in the end? Is this going to blow up? That's what you think, right? He's going to be busted for doing that. Yeah, like, but he wasn't. He's about to get wrecked. Yeah, but it really was a tense, like, don't do that, you stupid drunk. Yeah. Now you said that in the end, the movie inspires some amount of hope. For me, the end, I looked at this movie and said, there is no hope for this society. Now, that's a funny thing. There's a funny thing about all societies. This guy was a high school teacher. These people were high school teachers. It's not boy, everybody's going to hate me for saying this. He's not curing cancer. In other words, what he does is not instantly important. It's not like he's developing a bioweapon or something. There are people in our society that can do great things, that can launch rockets. There are doctors that could do incredible surgery, like incredible, like save your life. Like, this is not that. Like the high school teacher, it kind of doesn't matter day to day what they do. I realize that what they do matters, but they're not at a level of productivity of a thoracic surgeon or a cardiologist or a brain surgeon or, some of these very high-level scientists. Obviously, they have roads. They got a good road department. They got beautiful homes. Obviously, somebody's working. The society's working. That's they have law enforcement and that kind of stuff. But their society seems to kind of not matter. They're not like some societies, like Israel really produces like geniuses and Nobel Prize guys. They're making incredible inventions. But Holland and Denmark, it's sort of like they're just screwing around. Now, they make fighter planes. Somebody knows what they're doing, but not the vast part of society. So at the end of the movie, I really felt like there's no hope for this society. I realize there are top-end people, and I'm not talking about like politicians when I say top-end or anything like that. I'm saying there are scientists and inventors and people who are not impaired and that are moving society forward. But
as far as we know,
the community part is bad.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They're not doing a good job raising their kids. They're not, he didn't do a good job raising his kids. He's a terrible father,
We don't even see that much. I wouldn't go as far as to say he was a terrible father.
You think it's okay to be like that? Ignore your kids and blow? He didn't care at the end. You go your way, I'll go mine. Whatever.
I don't think he ever ignored his kids. We don't see them now. The only real bit we see, if I remember correctly,
they
with him and his
acknowledge that he was a
kids.
drunk.
Yeah, one of them does say, which is problematic, right? When
It's been a long time, Dad.
Yeah, like we've known this. Yeah,
right.
And that's one of those harsh
That's
moments.
not good
sure.
parenting.
I'm not saying I'm not. Yeah,
it's role model wise, he sucked.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So I just felt like, man, this, and I know here in the United States we have whole towns and everything that are just lost. They maybe they had a coal mine. The coal mine shut down. Now everybody's a drunk. Or a junkie, or worse, right? This movie left me like with very little hope. I had a different feeling at the end that was like, these people are never going to straighten themselves out. They're going to have generations of this. Look at the kids. Look at the high school kids are ready to go right off the deep end.
Oh, because they're into playing their drinking games and all that?
Oh, they showed the first thing in the movie. They're like running around the lake drinking a case of beer,
I mean, I don't know. I don't think that has... To me, it doesn't portray or show any issue with like the larger, but like them being young high school kids or whatever their legal drinking age over there.
I was young once too.
Yeah, like I don't think there's anything wrong. Like to think that none of our leaders or scientists or geniuses ever dabbled, in booze or partying or
many
whatever,
of them did.
having a good,
we
what I mean?
had geniuses
and they make a point when he's in that class about like Winston Churchill and this and these people were drinking and had all these issues and all that, had all these issues and we're doing this like while under the influence. I don't think the lesson is saying anything, and I'm not implying that you're saying this, but I don't think the lesson is implying at all that that's like a good thing or the right thing to do, but it's the reality, that people are out there doing that.
Yeah, I know, but man, it was interesting to me. They in the very beginning of the movie they showed the word druk, D-R-U-K. That word in Danish means binge drinking. So they actually have a word for that.
Yeah.
Like you're drunk or you're on a druk or you're, I don't know the context where you would use that. But it was interesting to me that different cultures have different words for different things.
Yeah.
And that they actually have a word for that and that they showed it right off the bat, Anyway, interesting movie. I do want you to see Adam's Apples. That's a Danish movie, and it stars Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of his. He's got there's a couple movies, I can't think of the names right now, but he's got a huge filmography.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a big star. And in Adam's Apples, He has an interesting part too, you know. We're going to watch it. We're going to find it somehow. Maybe we'll get it from the library or something.
Right.
But it's really, really worth seeing. It's just like this in that it's a dark comedy. And this is supposed to be a dark comedy, but I didn't laugh throughout it. I was very sad. I was very unhappy for the people and the stories. And nobody won anything. There was no big winner in this story. Everybody was just a loser. And to me, it looked like that's the direction society was going. And I just turned the TV off and... took a Quaalude.
It's okay to have a drink, man.
No,
it's okay to be down and out and to have a couple
it's not
drinks.
okay to be down and out.
Well, it's we don't want that, but it happens to everybody, and it's all right to have a couple drinks. It's all right to, to get your footing back, whatever. I mean, I say a couple drinks. I'm not saying go out and make it a
destroy
habit.
Your life.
Yeah, don't be doing all that.
Because they destroyed their lives. All those guys destroyed their lives.
I mean, almost. I don't think I wouldn't say they all destroyed their lives. Like, his relationship came to a head. I believe that would have happened regardless. Thomas, he ended up, like, we can all agree, he was the one that, fell off the deep end, like, didn't drop the habit and paid his life for it. That's really unfortunate. I don't get the sense at all that all of them are like, oh, now we're divorced and our kids left us and our family.
Well, he said the one guy, he goes, he's going out with some broad. Yeah. Right? The choir teacher, right?
Someone,
No, none of them stopped drinking. None of them, the other three that didn't die, they remained drinking. Like, it wasn't
fine. That's fine. They were drinking before, they're drinking after. They just stopped doing their experiment. And we have to remember too that, like, once they did hit that, but that's true.
We have to remember too that it's Denmark, and who cares about those people? Wow,
No, we have to remember too that, like, even when they do that big go to oblivion, as they say,
right?
For them, that was like a one-day experiment. They weren't doing that every day. Obviously, it got to the point where Tommy kept doing it when he's stumbling into the school, late. But that was the one, like, all right, this is where we're going to end it here, but we want to end going to the beyond.
What was interesting, they did show Tommy where he got out of control, but there were a lot of people who were phenomenally well-controlled alcoholics. Like, you don't even know. They have a couple of drinks, they function through their day, right? Or maybe they don't start drinking until after work, and then they get blackout. And then the next day they're at work on time. Right. And the people at work don't know that the night before they fell down the stairs. Yeah. It's like, how'd you get that bump on your head? The door, you know. Yeah. There are people who handle stuff like that, and it's the same with drugs. There are people that smoke weed all day. Right. Or they
just functional,
do a little bump of something like all day. So they didn't show that in the movie, and they didn't need to. It's not a documentary. Yeah, right. But there, not one of them sort of stayed like that. It was kind of an all or nothing drinking thing. Like, they weren't functional alcoholics. Yeah, they at first they weren't alcoholics. At first, they just were a little bit lit. And you have friends like that, maybe even girlfriends like that they're better off a little bit lit. Right. Like one or two, give a little pregame. Right, yeah. And then we're going out and everybody's happy. There's nothing, they didn't also show the angry drunk. Right. Like, everybody loves the happy drunk, but I don't know. I did some stand-up comedy and everybody's laughing like hell and stuff. Well, you don't know if the jokes are that great, but they're all plastered, right? So they're all lit, So anyway, I mean, we rate these movies, right? But there are genres. So this is a great movie in its genre. Not sure what its genre is. So it's like an emotionally based review or a technically based review. Great movie. Wish I hadn't watched it. Made me sad. How about you?
I mean, I'll give it an 8. I think it's great on all sides of it. The filmmaking, technical side. Love the actors. Love the overall story. The aesthetic. It's just a great movie for me. It
is a good, complete story. Yeah. It ends.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry it bummed you out. That was an interesting. I didn't see that coming.
It's
that
not to apologize for that. It's art. You're supposed to react. Yeah. If I went like, whatever, and turned the TV off, then you shouldn't have shown it to me.
Yeah. Now I'm really curious to see how you would react to The Hunt. If this made you feel that way,
it's on the list. Put it on the list. Put it on the list. This is the Danish film review show. We're gonna watch Adam's Apples, The Hunt. And what's the other Mads Mikkelsen? I think there were two. There was this one, The Pusher or something.
Pusher, yeah, that was the Nick Refn movies. I've seen that one. I have the trilogy.
Was there a second one of those?
Yeah, I think there's 3 of them. I think he's in the first 2. I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah. The Pusher
if he's
trilogy.
not in the other one, I don't want. Yeah. I'll just watch the 2 that he's in. But what a great actor.
Yeah.
And really interesting movie. It's kind of one of a kind. Mm-hmm. You know, I think at the beginning of the review, I said if somebody didn't make it, they would have to. Because it is a study. So.
All right. Well, that's a wrap on this one, everybody. Have you seen this film? If you have, let us know what you think in the comments.
Please.